All right, welcome. So today we're talking about anger. I love anger. I'm so excited. I do. I really do. I didn't for a very long time. I had an angry relationship with my anger for a very long time. But we're gonna walk you through all of this and see if maybe by the end of today you think about your anger a little bit differently or are willing to explore maybe even having a relationship with your anger that is one of appreciation, gratitude, joy. Who knows? Okay. So this is a little bit of an anger workshop. We're going to go through some things and then I'm not going to leave you hanging today. You're going to get some tips for how to deal with anger. Anger has been coming up a lot lately in friends, in the collective, in social media, in the news, and my clients. People are angry. People are really angry and they are less and less willing to keep it in, to be kind, to be pleasing. And so this is a big question, right? Why do we feel that anger needs to be kept in? So there are a lot of reasons for that. A lot of reasons for that. And we're going to go over all of this, right? So anger is one of the big emotions, right? So I think of anger, fear, and grief as sort of like the big three. And so anger is one of the big three, but it gets a bad rap. Anger gets blamed for everything. It gets blamed for violence, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual violence. It gets blamed for wars and battles and the ending of relationships. It gets blamed for a lot, right? So today we're going to explore a different take on anger, right? Spoiler alert, anger is possibly the most intelligent system in your body and acting out of love and even kindness for you. It's very possible that anger is actually just signaling to you to take care of yourself. So let's dive into what I'm talking about here. So what is anger, right? Anger is an emotion. So what's an emotion, right? I think we can all agree anger is an emotion. But is it yours? Is it mine? Is it your fault? Is it my fault? Right? Anger is just like grief. It's just like fear, right? It depends on who you ask when you're looking for the definition of an emotion. So for me, emotions are a feeling in my body. It's a movement of energy. It's a physical experience in my body. We often have this physical experience of an emotion that comes so quickly with thoughts that we mistake the two for being the same thing. So our emotions and our thoughts are separate. Emotions don't come with thoughts, right? Sometimes they come with ideas, sometimes they have something to say, but an emotion doesn't come in saying, you need to do this. Let me tell you, right? It's a feeling in our body. Maybe I feel heat. Maybe I feel something crawling under my skin. Maybe I feel tension. Maybe I feel frozen. Maybe I feel like I need to run or hide, right? Anger has a lot to do with fight, flight, freeze, appease. It's the fight, but it can freeze, right? Anger can absolutely make you frozen, especially if you grew up in a home where anger was scary, right? And you don't want to let your anger out, or if you let your anger out, things were scary. So in reality, your emotions are not the same as your thoughts, and it's important to explore the difference, right? Which one do you notice first? What happens when you pay more attention to one versus the other? So the next time you feel anger coming in, we want to slow it down, right? So slow down the thought and the emotional wave of information. So if we slow this down, we often find that the thoughts that come with that first wave of emotion, they want something to be done, right? With anger, anger wants something to be done. We want a resolution, we want an apology, we want justice, we want that person to know they did something wrong. But when we stay with the feeling, right, and we ride this first wave without following through on the thoughts, but we let the feeling be in charge, right? Setting the thoughts aside, even for a breath, and feeling the emotion, we often don't pick the thoughts back up and meet that same action, right? So that first initial reaction of anger and what we want done and what we think the resolution is going to be, if we breathe with our anger, a few minutes later, we often don't even know what we wanted done that first wave. That first wave is a reactive, hey, there's something here to pay attention to. But the thoughts come in so quickly, telling us what we need to do, that we often get confused about what the anger is really signaling to us, right? Those thoughts are an old habit, often from when we were younger, of I need to explain my anger because I don't know how to feel it and I don't know what to do. And it feels really big and it feels scary. And I need to figure this out because nobody is showing me what to do with my anger. How many of us grew up in a house where we were taught, oh, this is anger. What are you feeling? Let's breathe together, right? You can do these exercises. You can move your body this way. There are a lot of ways to work with anger in real time that we're not taught. So we have to scramble and figure it out. And like I said, if you grew up in a home or in an environment where anger wasn't allowed, then oftentimes, we have some really strong habits and protectors keeping us from expressing anger because we're afraid of what's going to happen. And now we're older, and that anger is coming out in ways that are unhealthy, but we don't know what to do about it. So you're in the right place. Okay. You can see this really clearly when you watch kids on a playground, right? So something happens, right? So, like, one kid steals a ball from another, and the kid who was stolen from is angry, really angry, yelling, crying, wants to hit the other kid, mad, right? If the first kid, the kid who's angry, is allowed to feel their anger, breathe with it, be mad, yell, right? This is a childish way to express anger, which is needed at that age, right? We need to express it, and then we can learn how to express it in a mature way. So we let this kid have their fit safely and carefully, right? It's not stopped or explained away, but they get to breathe and they have a safe person with them and they get to simply be mad, then they often go right on playing with that same kid that they just wanted to pummel, right? Is this because they're giving in? Did they forget? Are they being pleasing? No. They felt through the anger and then the anger went away. The anger said, I didn't like that thing. The kid got to feel and pay attention to the message in his system or their system, and then they got to move on. Right? So we often get confused with the message from the anger and we hang out with the thoughts that come with the anger and we think that they're right. We think we know because we're angry, right? We think our anger is telling us the truth, but our anger isn't telling us those thoughts. Our anger is signaling to us that there is something inside of us that needs tending, something that we need to pay attention to. So I'm not talking about extreme situations where somebody is attacking you or somebody is coming after you, right? This is not what we're talking about. We're talking about when you are feeling triggered, when you as an adult are angry and you're blaming somebody else for it, right? The person who cut you off, the person who sent you that email, the person who posted that thing on social media, right? Your partner who didn't pick up their dirty underwear yet again, right? These are the times that we're talking about. This anger isn't saying, I need to go talk to that person, right? We think that's what it's saying, but feeling into the anger is a different story. So I invite you to slow this down, right? Slowing this down is going to help you figure out what is the feeling and what are the thoughts. And can I let the thoughts hang out for a minute and you can come right back to them while I feel through this feeling. So then I can go back and think about this from a place where I'm not so physically charged, right? It's like if there was a sprinter, if there was a race of sprinters and they went sprinting, you wouldn't meet them at the finish line and like have them figure something out, right? Or interview them like when they are catching their breath, right? You wait, you let them recover, and then you ask them about the race. It's the same kind of thing. Anger comes in, it can come in with a lot of speed, a lot of heat, a lot of intensity. We go, oh, now is not the time to speak. Now is not the time to act. Now is the time for me to breathe and feel this. And then I can see, is there something I need to pay attention to within me? Right? Is there something I need to do? So remember, all of our emotions are in information system. Emotions are information. They are not the problem, right? Your emotional body is a highly intelligent energetic system that gives you feedback, right, regarding your inner and outer reality. If we're unsure how to listen to our emotions, if we ignore them, belittle them, hide them, bury them, deny them, then we often have thoughts that step in to make order of our feelings, right? So we are saying our thoughts are better than our feelings. But that's like saying reading a book is better than reading it on a Kindle. It's like, no, it's information. It's just getting it a different way, right? But it's all just information. Your thoughts are information about what's going on. Your emotions are feeling information about what's going on. So if you're unsure how to listen to your emotions, then this is where you want to start, right? We want to notice, what am I feeling? Right? So all the thinking work involved in managing the emotion is no longer necessary when you're feeling into your emotion. So we spend a lot of time and energy thinking ourselves away. So when you notice that emotion, notice the thoughts. What do I think about this emotion? What do I say to myself about my emotional body? Am I rude to myself? Am I mean to myself? Do I like my emotions, but they're only for me when I'm alone and I hide them in the bath? Do I only feel my emotions at a certain time when I'm with my coach or my therapist? Right? Do my emotions come out all the time in these leaky ways that I hate? Right? So noticing what's the feeling in my body and what are the thoughts that are with this. And we do this, there's no right or wrong. There's no should. There's no I should be feeling a certain way, or I should be doing this a certain way, or I should be able to. It's just, oh, okay. Can I even feel my body? Do I even notice what my body is? Right? Is it here? Am I outside of my body? Do I leave my body when I feel emotions? Right? Does fear come in so fast with anger that I can't even feel? And this is just gathering information. This isn't right or wrong. You shouldn't be able to feel your emotions, right? If you can't, you can't. Just notice, oh, I'm aware that there's an emotion here, but I can't feel it. Okay, great. Then that's where we start, right? It's information gathering, noticing what is my relationship with my emotion. So, getting back to anger, anger is telling you something. It is not, however, telling you what you think it's telling you. It's telling you what you feel. And if you don't feel it, right, you will most likely get the message wrong from anger. So anger is not telling you that the thing that is right in front of you is what needs to be dealt with. And this is really hard for us to understand, right? We often believe that anger is either caused by someone else telling us that someone else did something, something outside of us is wrong or bad or unsafe, right? We think that it's the external thing that happened, and therefore my anger is here to tell me that that thing is wrong, that that thing needs to change, that that thing needs to be removed. This may also be true, but the important truth that we want to pay attention to first when you are triggered with anger is, what is the anger pointing you to inside of yourself? right? It's pointing you to the thing that will show you what is inside of you that needs tending, right? So very often it's like shooting an arrow and blaming the target for getting hit, right? Follow the line of the arrow back to the source within you, and you will find the thing that anger wants you to see. Most likely, it's something that you care deeply for. We often are angry because we are caring about something that got triggered inside of us, like a lack of safety, right? Safety for others, integrity, being seen, connected, loved, being included, feeling like we're enough. Anger is most often telling us that there is something within us that we, not others, but that we are ignoring, sacrificing, forgetting, right? So anger is really saying, hey, go inside. You're not paying attention to something inside. And so if we were talking about emotions and you were like, I'm not really sure what my emotional relationship is. I don't really know how to feel my emotions, or, my emotions are really leaky, or I only feel them every now and then this is you, right? If we don't have a healthy relationship with our emotions, anger comes in to show us what we're not paying attention to. Anger is often the fire required to walk us to our fear, to walk us to our grief, because we don't want to feel it. We're scared of our emotions. They feel big. We don't know how to feel them. We don't know how to let them out. We don't know what they're going to show us. And so anger eventually comes in and says, hey, you're not paying attention. There is really important information here for you, and you need to pay attention to it. So often when we follow anger inside, we find fear, we find grief, we find parts of us that are really, really tender and need our love and care. That's why we are angry, right? Anger has a reason, but it's not the reason you think, right? The reason that's outside of you is just mirroring to you what is inside of you that needs tending. So when we can see anger as the messenger for something within us that needs our attention, then we take responsibility for the anger, right? We take responsibility for our behavior, right? My anger is pointing to something within me, which means this is about me. This isn't about you or me needing something from you or me needing you to do something. Anger is not the villain. It's what we do with the anger, right? It's what we do in the name of anger that is the problem. It's an immature expression of anger. That's the problem. We can have mature expressions of anger. Anger is crystal clear about what it wants and what it needs, not from the thoughts that it triggers, but from where it takes you within yourself. It's like a sharp sword taking you right to the heart of what you're not paying attention to. It takes you right there. And so this is what I was saying earlier about why I love my anger. When I feel anger, I know, ooh, all right, there's some good work that's going to happen here. I'm going to be shown something that I really have not been paying attention to. That is time that's been calling to me. And I've been like, doing other things, doing the things that felt easier, that felt more comfortable, right? That felt less big, less sad, less scary. And the anger finally says, nope, this is what we're doing. Game over. Stop what you're doing. Pull the car over. Don't talk to anybody else. Pay attention, right? This is getting in your way. This is stopping you from being your best self. This is getting in the way of your relationships. This is getting in the way of you getting that promotion. This is getting in the way of you connecting. This is getting in the way of your parenting. This is getting in the way of you having a good partnership, right? That's what the anger is showing you. It's not showing you that the person is the problem. It's showing you that there's something in you that needs love with care and kindness. So when we see the anger as the messenger for something like this, we treat it differently. right? You can often find the true source of your anger if you dig into what matters to you when you're angry, right? So if you're getting this and then you're like, okay, well, how do I do this? So anger is pointing me inward. Well, what does that mean? How do I go in? How do I not just bleh, like puke my anger all over everybody else? Or maybe you know how to keep the anger in, but that's it, right? It freezes. It stops with you, or you go take care of it on your own, or you get real quiet, right? But then you don't go inward and figure out, right? So you can ask yourself, why am I angry? And whenever there's answers about somebody else, keep digging. Because yes, somebody may have done something that was really annoying, but why is it triggering you this much? That's what we want to find out, right? I'm angry because, and ask this question until you get the true answer. Not I'm angry because he never listens, not I'm angry because she never listens, not I'm angry because, you know, but I'm angry because they don't listen, and then I'm angry because that makes me feel like I don't matter. And then I'm angry because when I feel like I don't matter, it makes me feel worthless. Like, oh, so yeah, I don't like not being listened to, but it's a lot more than just not being listened to. It's that I feel worthless when you don't do the dishes because it makes me feel like you don't hear me. And when I'm not heard, that makes me feel like I don't matter, which triggers in me feelings of worthlessness and experiences of worthlessness. Right? So this is why we get in big fights about little things. Because really in us, they're not a little thing. But this is the work of going in and really finding, okay, what am I really angry about? What am I really feeling here? And paying attention when there's another feeling, like, oh, some sadness is coming in. What's that all about? Really getting curious. What is going on underneath this anger? Right? What is really in there? We follow the anger in and we find parts of us that need love, support, connection, tender care, right? This way, the next time you feel this same anger, you may hopefully have a little bit of awareness that it's not actually about the dishes or the person, right? Not listening to you or not doing what you say, but it's about you still having this part of you that needs tending and love and care, right? And then we can even say, okay, what part of this needs to be communicated, right? It's not if you don't do the dishes, I'm going to leave you. It's if I don't work through my own experience of worthlessness, I can't connect in a way that makes it worth me staying in any kind of relationship. And that's why we repeat, right? You might leave that marriage and then you get into a new one that's exactly the same. So anger leads us very clearly down a path to our deepest wounds that need our attention, right? This is what we want to do with anger. We want to respect it and we want to say, okay, I hear you. I'm paying attention. When anger shows up for me, it is a huge red flag to me that I've been working too hard, moving too fast, not paying attention, avoiding, right? Walking around, dancing around what really needs tending. And so it's a thank you. Thank you for showing up. It's my biggest teacher. Anger is my biggest teacher. It doesn't let me get away with anything, right? Anger doesn't let you hide. Anger is big, it moves fast, it wants to move out, right? And it really forces you to see the things within you that you don't want to see, right? So this is tender work, obviously, right? Anger is really, really tender work. So you get to go at whatever pace works for you, right? So now I want to talk about big anger, right? So we know anger, right, is simply the messenger, and it's a signal to separate thoughts from feelings and spend time exploring your inner world. What happens when anger feels big? right? So what happens when you're feeling your anger and you tap into things that you say, this feels enormous, big enough to incinerate the house, the town, the whole freaking planet, right? It can feel like maybe it's not yours, right? Sometimes we have that thought like, I don't know that this is mine. This feels different, right? It belongs to someone or something else, right? So again, the first step is to remember that this is an experience within our own body. And the idea that it, quote unquote, isn't yours or belongs to someone else is both true and untrue. So the part of you feeling is yours to feel, right? So the part of this that you feel, right? This is your experience. You are in your body. It may feel big, but this is your job. It is your job to feel what you feel, right? This excuse of like, I took on somebody else's emotion and that's not mine and I just need to get rid of it. No, you were with somebody who vibrated at a frequency that resonated with a frequency within you. And now this is yours to transmute and feel, right? So we do take on emotions for other people, right? And we can learn to not do this. And what is in our body is ours to feel. So the specifics of this, if you're confused around this, a lot of people are confused around this, and it's for a separate podcast. But right now, there's a lot of anger in the collective, meaning our collective feeling as humans, as a community, has a lot of anger that's stirred up. And people are getting mad, especially women, and they're not wanting to keep it quiet. So, this is what I was talking about at the beginning of the call. There are a lot of people saying, I feel anger, but it feels big, right? So, this is the experience of tapping into collective, ancestral, historical, inherited trauma, inherited anger, inherited feeling, right? When we tap into a collective, it can feel like we've found something really huge, like we're just a drop of water and we touched the ocean, or we found the core of the earth or the pit of hell. This experience of tapping into collective can be empowering and it can be terrifying. So when you're experiencing this kind of anger, an anger that feels bigger than you, it's important to remember that you're just one person, and it is not your job to feel the anger of the whole collective, to feel the anger of the whole world, right? You are here to do your work, to fulfill your purpose, right? So no martyrhood here. This isn't, I'm going to resolve the anger of every, no. Simply because others around you aren't feeling this doesn't mean that you have to feel it like a sacrificial lamb and feel as much as you possibly can and transmute all of this anger. You can't. That's not what it does. That's what we do together, right? We heal the collective as a collective. But what we can do as individuals is notice our relationship to that feeling. So when you are just one person, tapping into the collective feels big when we feel small, right? So my teacher, Thomas Hubel, talks a lot about this. And so if you're interested in this topic about collective trauma and feeling, Thomas Hubel is a wonderful person to to check. I'll put his information in the comments below. So we're going to focus on anger, but I want to talk about this feeling of big because this is coming up a lot. So when our capacity to feel anger is like a straw and we tap into anger that feels like a rushing river or an ocean, we feel overwhelmed. We feel small in comparison. We can feel intimidated, exhausted at the prospect of feeling and allowing that amount of anger to pass through our system, right? We can feel confused, like, what's my responsibility here? What's mine? What's not mine? And the truth is, you can't and aren't meant to change all of that. It's about your awareness. Where am I in my awareness? And I'm tapping into something that feels similar to something in me. And that helps me notice my capacity to feel my own anger, right? When we have a huge capacity to love, right? When you just meet these people who are so open-hearted, they aren't loving for the whole world. They are tapping into the universe of love as one person and realizing there is no difference. Whereas if you work with somebody who doesn't feel they have much of an experience of love at all, maybe every now and then for their cat or their dog, and then in a meditation they tap into the universe of love, they feel really overwhelmed. Whoa, what am I supposed to do with this? This is huge. So it's the same thing with anger, right? It's just giving us a gauge of where I am. Right? You can only do what you can do, and attempting to feel the anger of the world through your one human body will leave you feeling burnt, right? Burnt out. Right? So if you're interested in feeling collective anger, find a group, an anger group that works specifically with collective healing. There are beautiful shamanic rituals that assist in this work, but you can't and don't want to do collective work alone. You can't, but it gives you a gauge, right? So when you have this experience of, wow, that feels really big, you can explore it. You can play with it. You can notice what's the difference between what I feel in my body and what's this bigness, right? If there's a bigness, is there a smallness? And just getting playful and curious in that space without feeling that it's your responsibility to do anything, right? This is when we just become aware, oh, there's something really big here. Okay, that's it. Right? And that's where we let it be, unless you want to move into doing collective work, and then it's a different story. But so that big anger that you feel, it can fuel you. It can feel good. It can help you feel like you're not alone in this. And that's great too, right? This is all just more information. And that's really what we want to be doing when we tap into things that, quote unquote, feel big. It's, oh, they feel big because I don't feel connected to my true capacity, and I don't know yet if we're the same or if we're different. And that's a place to explore. That's a place to get playful, right? So another way to be playful with your anger. So let's do a little bit of working with anger, right? So now that we have a better understanding that anger is not your enemy, it's actually your friend, right? You can start with this playfulness, right? Play with anger. There may be some repairs that need to happen within your system. So reframing your parts about the purpose of your anger, why is it really here, can shift your relationship with it. So if you can view your anger as simply a vehicle of important information and not the fault of something external, then you can start to reclaim your behavior when you feel angry, right? If you say, my anger is mine and it's important and it's information for me, then when it shows up, we don't want to throw it onto other people. We want to slow it down. So when anger comes in, right, this is called the conscious pause, right? We take a minute. That can be counting to 5, it can be counting to 30, it can be breathing, right? But we say, okay, anger is present in me, which means I need to slow down. And if nothing else, I need to stop talking. Don't speak when you feel angry. Do not speak when you feel angry. Should I say it again? Do not speak when you feel angry. Right? When anger shows up, lips close. And we say, I need a minute. Right? You can breathe. If checking in with your breath brings up more anger, see if you can be with that. Like, why does slowing down right now increase my anger? Right? But this again, it's an internal game. We're taking care of ourselves. We're growing up. We're being responsible for ourselves, right? So keep breathing. Use your breath, right? To breathe in and out the fire and the feeling and the intensity in your body. A lot of us don't like the feeling of anger at first because it feels so strong and intense, and we're scared that it's going to do something, right? That it's going to take over our body and we're going to do something we regret, right? So if that's how you feel, walk away. If you can't speak, right, to express your anger, if you're not alone and you're not talking, but you're scared that you are going to talk, just walk away. It's okay. Take a few minutes outside, in a bathroom, in a bedroom, in an office, right? If you have the time, get yourself somewhere that you can express, right? Being in a safe space to let the anger out, great. If there are people around you, no. No talking if there are other people who can hear you. But if there's nobody around, let it go. Eventually, you won't need to do this with your anger anymore. You will be able to listen to it internally, but it may kind of always have some things that need to be seen, need to be expressed. But in the beginning, you aren't able to discern what actually needs to be said and what is just old stuff that needs to come out of here, right? And so we need to let the pressure out of the pressure cooker before we can open up and really see what's inside, right? So walk away, right? If you have time, get yourself to a place where you can express. When you notice you're angry, right? This is awareness. See if it's available for you to operate from the awareness as opposed to the anger, right? For example, okay, this is your fault can become, I'm feeling a lot of anger right now. Let me take a minute. Or I'm overwhelmed with anger. I need to walk away, right? If you're able to say, I am angry and therefore I need to take some time, you can say that. If you can't even say that, don't say anything, right? If you can't speak to the truth of what's happening inside you, it is not a time to speak to your reactivity about what somebody else is doing, right? If I can't be honest and vulnerable about what I'm feeling, I am in no place. I am not on any high horse to tell you what you need to be doing, right? And that's just true, right? That's just emotional maturity. So if you have anger that feels its never ending flow, right, of anger and frustration, this is often different from collective anger, right? If this never ending flow is in you, it's different from the collective in that you kind of know where it's from, right? It's like resentment or a specific person or event or events that you felt it. You know it. You know it belongs to you. You know it's old, right? And this anger, this leftover anger, it needs to be felt. It needs an outlet. So when we start to feel into our anger, it comes up more and more and more. And then we really know it doesn't have anything to do with our external environment. So some people exercise, you can run, you can ride a bike, you can box. I used to chop wood for hours. You can throw axes safely, right? Obviously, right? You can journal out what you're feeling, right? What wants to be said, and then burn it, right? This is a beautiful, beautiful, respectful exercise for all the things you haven't been listening to. Of, okay, I'm just going to write it all out. And I know that nobody's going to see this because I'm going to burn it. And I'm going to say thank you to my system for finally listening and letting it out, right? A lot of us who expressed anger externally fairly easily are the ones who might need to spend time alone with their anger, whereas those who historically keep their anger inside might find it helpful to work with a coach or therapist or find an anger support group that shows you it can be safe to express anger, right? So the group that expresses anger easily often needs to understand the safety of feeling it inside themselves. And the group that holds it often needs to feel the safety of letting it go, right? So some people have a really easy time letting anger out and they're terrified to be with themselves. And some people do not let their anger out and they need to learn it's okay. You can even say the words, I am angry. You can whisper them, right? You can write them down, right? There's a lot of really really helpful groups out there. You can work with a coach or therapist. I've got a great course on my website that's all about reducing reactivity. You know, if you want to shift your relationship with your anger, you need to take responsibility for the fact that the anger is yours, right? If you have a dog that's peeing on your carpet, hitting that dog is not going to fix the problem, and ignoring the dog is not going to fix the problem. The same is true with your anger, right? It's not the dog. The root of the problem is something different than the external thing that is showing you that there is something here to pay attention to. We need to get to the root so that anything that helps you slow down the anger is helpful, right? Because moving really quickly with anger, ignoring anger, holding anger in is not taking the pressure off in a way that's helpful for us to go inside. If I blame you, I'm not taking responsibility. If I hold all my anger in, it's too overwhelming for me to go underneath it and find anything that's going to be helpful for me. So slowing down is the first step. Slow it down. When you notice anger coming in, what am I feeling? Is it hot? Is it tight? Am I outside of my body? Can I feel anything? Am I numb? Am I frozen? Am I stuck? Do I need to leave? Do I need to get myself somewhere else? Can I breathe? What's happening with my breath? Can I write this down? Right? Can I tell my thoughts, I need a few minutes, I'll come back to you. I'm angry, it's not the time. Right? So really paying attention to what is happening so we can get a map, we can get a lay of the land, and then we can start to work our way inside to figure out what is really going on here, right? What is really going on underneath the anger? So this is it for today. I hope it gave you some little bit of a different relationship with your anger, maybe a little more respect, a little more curiosity, maybe even a little more love at what's really going on inside you with your anger. And as always, if you need extra support, especially around anger, this is my jam. I love talking about anger. So reach out. You can find me at my website at www.heidiengel.net. And feel free to check out that course, Reducing Reactivity. It's a great place to start if you're really not sure. You know, if a lot of what I said was confusing and you want to stop yelling at your kids, you want to stop yelling at your spouse, you want to stop blaming everybody else, that course is a great place to start. So, as always, sending so much love from my heart to yours.